Good day everyone. So today we're going to learn about the introduction of learning PHP series. So by the way, this is the new version of our series in learning PHP. So I hope you learn new things in this one. So just bear with me all throughout the series, okay? Let's start with the introduction part. So let's try to know, ano ba yung sinasabing PHP? So basically, PHP is a server scripting language and a powerful tool for making dynamic and interactive web pages. So PHP is an acronym for PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. Of course, it is widely used open source scripting language, and also it is free to download and use. Okay, so what can PHP do? So PHP can generate dynamic page content. PHP can create, open, read, write, delete, and close files on the server. PHP can also collect form data. PHP can send and receive cookies. PHP can add, delete, modify data in your database. PHP can be used to control user access. And also, PHP can encrypt data. So what are the web applications developed in PHP? So basically, I have some examples here, which is this is the web application that we have created in the university. Okay? So, yung ginamit namin dito is, of course, PHP. But some of here, hindi naman kaming gumawa. But I'm just showing this one just to showcase na capable po yung PHP gumawa ng mga web application. So, let's start with the EBSA website. So, the EBSA website is created using WordPress, which is yung back-end scripting language niya is PHP. Then we also have the student portal, wherein dito ginagamit natin to check yung mga student grades natin, yung pag-input ng mga grades, pag-check ng mga subject na under tayo. Okay? We also have the EBSO email request portal, wherein we are using this to request email for EBSO email. Okay? Next is we also have the accreditation web portal. Okay? Then meron din tayong yung EBSO Learning Management System, which is using yung Moodle. So PHP po rin yung ginagamit na scripting language on that one. Okay? Okay, so what are the basic knowledge needed? Okay? So before you continue, you should have the basic understanding of the following. So basically, kailangan talaga meron kang knowledge about HTML and CSS. But for the JavaScript, optional lang naman siya. Pero mas mainam rin na meron kasi nowadays, yung mga web application or in some industry, yung pinaka core ng development nila is they use JavaScript. So mas mainam rin na magkaroon tayo ng knowledge on that. But for now, since we are practicing, basic lang muna, so we should have knowledge on HTML and CSS. Kasi basically, HTML, ito yung parang building block. Then pagdating sa CSS, it talks about yung layout and design of your web application. Okay? So what is a PHP file? So PHP files can contain text, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP code. So basically, we try to integrate them all in a single file to create a web application. So PHP code are executed on the server and the result is returned to the browser as plain HTML. So yung file extension naman ng PHP, of course, yung .php. For example, yung index.php, about.php, and contact.php. So what are the things needed to start our local development? Of course, we need to install yung web server, okay? Such as yung Apache. So the web server, ito yung parang magsaserve ng website ninyo para ma-open natin sa mga browser natin. Okay, after that, we need to install yung PHP. This is the scripting language na ginagamit natin for the backend side. And then we need also to install the database such as MySQL if we need yung permanent storage of our data. Kailangan natin yan. So of course, we need also to install text editor kasi this is where we code. Okay, dito tayo nagko-code. So kailangan natin install yan. Of course, the browser para to display our output. Doon natin i-access yung web application natin para ma-display siya or makita natin yung result. And of course, lahat naman tayo, yung mga computer natin, is may mga default browser naman po. So, basically, meron tayong sinasabing web server solution package in which it can contain yung Apache web server, install PHP, yung PHP, and then of course yung database. Kagaya ng SAMP. So the SAMP is containing the Apache for the A. Actually, X is yung cross-platform. A for Apache, M for MySQL, P is for PHP, and another P is yung Perl. Okay, so this is one of the web service solution package that we can use once we are trying to develop some web application. We also have yung WAM, which is this is intended for Windows, and also we have the Laragon. Okay? So kung saan kayo mas komportable, yun po yung gamitin natin. But on my end, I'm going to use SAM. Okay? The next is, of course, yung text editors. So we also have Sublime Text, VS Code, and of course the Notepad++. Actually, there are a lot of text editor and even IDE. But on my end, since nasanay ako sa paggamit ng Sublime, ito po yung gagamitin ko. Okay? And then, of course, the browser. You can use Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and even yung Opera. In my case, yung mas maganda kong gamitin yung Google Chrome. Mas magaan siya. Okay? Okay, so now let's try to learn about the basic PHP syntax. So a PHP script can be placed anywhere in the document. So a PHP script starts with the opening of PHP tag and ends with the closing PHP tag. So, ito yung sample. So, if there are opening and closing within that part, dyan natin ilalagay yung mga codes natin in PHP. If we're going to put that outside, yan na yung mangyayari, hindi po siya magfa-function as PHP code. Okay? So, if ever naman po, lahat ng content or ng code is about PHP, then tanggalin na lang po natin yung closing. Pero kung ini-integrate na po natin siya sa mga HTML codes, then we need to close them. Okay, otherwise, baka magkaroon ng error. Okay? Okay. So, the default file extension basically of PHP is .php. And PHP file normally contains HTML tags and some PHP scripting code. Okay? So what is PHP comments? So a comment in PHP code is a line that is not executed as a part of the program. Its only purpose is to be read by someone who is looking at the code. So basically, this is parang documentation lang siya for documentation purposes. So comments can be used to let others understand your code or basically to remind yourself of what you did. So it is important na may mga comment tayo. So ito yung sample on how to create comments. So we have here yung HTML code natin. So comment can be double slash, single line comment, or we can also do the pound sign or the number sign to make a single line comment. Now, kung parang paragraph na yung comment mo or even commenting a specific code, we can do the multi-lines comment, which is the slash, asterisk, then asterisk slash. Okay, which means once a code or a string here is naka-comment siya, therefore it will not be executed as a normal PHP code. It will just parang magiging documentation purposes lang siya, or maybe if it is a code, maybe you want to use it later on. So kaya kino-comment natin. Parang hindi mo siya gustong i-delete. So gagamitin mo pa siya later on. So comment lang muna natin para hindi siya mag-function as normal PHP code. Okay? So what is variable when it comes to PHP? So variable are containers for storing information. In PHP, a variable starts with a $sign followed by the name of a variable. So ito yung mga sample natin. So $sign text equals hello world, so which can also consider as the string. So x for 5 and y for 10.5. Basically, sa PHP, comparing to other programming languages, there's no keyword for declaring variable. If we're going to compare it to C, we need to compare or to declare a character, data type, or an integer to specify kung ano yung value na ina-accept niya. Dito, yung nangyari, if we try to assign a string in this particular variable, i-consider ni PHP na ito string yung data type. Ito naman yung isa, i-consider niya na integer, while this one is a float. But in other programming language such as C, we need to specify ano ba yung data type niya. But in PHP, no. Hindi mo kailangan yung ganon. Ito yung tinatawag nating loosely typed programming language. Okay, so yung programming language na to, yung mag-a-adapt sa code na ginagawa natin kung ano ba yung data type niya. There's no need for us to specify that one. Okay? So regarding the rules of PHP in creating variables, basically it's almost the same with other programming languages. The only difference that the variable in PHP starts with $sign, then follow the name of the variable. Okay, so it must also start with a letter or an underscore. Of course, it cannot start with a number. It should only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. So basically, variable names are also case sensitive. So mag-iba po yung maliit na mga characters such as this age and yung capital letters na age. Mag-iba po sila. Okay? So actually same rules lang ito sa other programming languages. Okay po? So ano ba yung PHP data types? So these are the different data types that supports in PHP. So variables can store data of different types, and different data types can do different things. So ito yung sinusuportahang mga data type ng PHP. We have the string, integer, float, boolean, array, object, and null. So if we say string, anything na naka-quote, whether single quote or double quote. Okay? String po siya. Integer naman po, these are numbers, a whole number. Okay? For the float, these are basically yung mga numbers na may decimals. Okay? Boolean, this is true or false. While array naman, a kind of data type that can hold different value in a single variable. Then we also have the object. If you're going to learn about class, yung OOP or the object-oriented programming, parang ganun yung object na concept. So, we're not going to tackle yet on that at this point of series. And then we also have the null. Null is different from empty. Empty is, there's specific character about empty na hindi lang natin nakikita pero may character yan na naka-set or let's say parang ASCII code. But if we say null, as in wala, walang laman. Okay? So let's talk about operators. If you have a knowledge na on other basic programming such as C, yung operators naman halos the same, yung mga purpose. So operators are used to perform operations on variables and values. So PHP divides the operator in the following groups. First, we have the arithmetic operators. We have yung plus, minus, asterisk, slash. For the division, this is the multiplication. The modulus, wherein we can use this to, if we want to determine yung even or odd number. Then of course, we have the exponentation. Okay, yung to the power of 2, mga ganun. So for the arithmetic operators, of course, ito. 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, o 2 minus 1, 3 times 2, wherein yung mga mathematical operation, that is the arithmetic operators na ginagamitan natin. Now, when it comes to the assignment operator, ito yung you're trying to assign a value to a particular variable, such as this one. X is equal to 1 plus 2. So we have here yung arithmetic, yung plus, but we have here yung assignment. So kung ano yung result nito, i-assign natin sa X. Okay? So that is the assignment operator. Comparison operator naman, we use this if we're trying to compare something. Like this one, we're trying to compare if the X is equal to 1. Which is the X's value niya is 1. So basically, true yung magiging sagot. They are equal. Yes, they are equal. So we can also check, meron pang ibang mga comparison operator wherein it checks kung greater than ba sa 1 or less than sa 1. Okay, so those are the different comparison operator. Then we also have the increment and decrement operators. Yung plus plus and minus minus. So dito, basically if we do this, it will add 1 to the X. While this one, it will minus 1 or subtract 1 to the Y. Okay? Then we also have the logical operator, the AND and OR, even the NOT. So if there are two conditions within this particular if statement, we're going to learn that in the future videos that we're going to record. Okay, so here there are two kinds of conditions or comparison that we're about to do. So we have the x is equal to 1, then y is equal to 2. If you want this condition that both of them gusto mong dapat true, then you're going to use the AND operator. But kung gusto mo lang kahit isa sa kanila, then use OR operator. Okay? Next is we have the string operators, which is the dot, yung period. Now, if we have this set up, we have the variable having a value of Raymond and the last name, the another variables having the value of Dilo, and we created another variable na kinakailangan natin magdikit sila or mag-join sila, magiging full name na. So to do that, we need to use the concatenation operator, which is one of the string operator. So, yung mangyayari nito, si Raymond na value and Dylan na value will be joined together. And naglagay din ako dito ng empty string with having a space in between para once they connect to each other or to join each other, magkakaroon po ng space sa gitna nila. So, hindi po parang magdidikit. Okay? So that's how concatenation works. All throughout the series, maraming beses nyo pong makikita yung operator na yan. Okay po? Okay, let's talk naman about the PHP display output. Of course, in displaying output, this is the thing na makikita na po natin sa screen. So with PHP, there are two basic ways to get output. We have the echo and print. So the echo and print are more or less the same. So they are both used to output data to the screen. The differences are small. Echo has no return value while print has a return value of 1. So it can be used in expression. So the echo can take multiple parameters while print can take one argument only. So the echo is marginally faster than print. Okay? So since marginally faster siya, so ito yung gagamitin natin. Yung echo po yung gagamitin natin all throughout the series. Okay po? Okay, so it is already practice coding time. So now let's jump to our coding session para at least maipakita ko po sa inyo kung paano po natin mamamanipulate ang PHP. Okay po? Okay, so before we start basically yung mga development natin, we need to make sure po na na-install po natin yung mga kinakailangan nating application. So of course, we have the browser. Kailangan po natin yan. We also need yung text editor where we code. And then of course, yung SAM po natin. Kailangan po natin yan. If ever naman po hindi mag-work yung SAM sa inyo, you may use to download and install yung WAMP server. Now let's try to search yung SAM since ito po yung gagamitin natin. And then let's download the installer. Okay, now let's click on the SAM. Then ito po yung makikita natin. So, meron po tayong installer dito for Windows, Linux, and OS X. So, of course, yung ida-download po natin is for Windows since ito po yung OS ng local machine natin. And of course, once it is clicked, it will just download automatically. If it doesn't, we can just click this particular link here. So, let's just wait po na ma-download po yung installer ng SAM. And afterwards, once it is already completed, then we're going to install it in our local machine so that we can start the development. Okay, now that it is already completed yung pag-download natin, now let's try to install yung installer na SAM po. So, i-double click lang po natin para mag-run po siya. So, click lang po natin yung OK and just click next. Next. So, dito, we can select the folder kung saang location po natin i-install yung SAM po. We can set it sa C drive or sa drive D. So, by default naman po, nakalagay siya sa drive C. Okay? So, since naka-install na po ako ng SAM sa local machine ko, so I'm not going to continue po yung installation. So, of course, in your case, kung wala pa kayong SAM, you need to install completely yung SAM in your local machine. Okay? So, cancel ko lang po muna and yes ko lang po. Okay, now let's start the SAM. Let's open this SAM control panel. Okay, so let's make sure naka-start po yung Apache web server natin. We can just click the start button. And then we can also click yung MySQL. So, yung MySQL naman po, if we need to have the database, kung hindi pa naman natin ginagamit yung database, okay rin lang naman na hindi pa natin i-start yung database po natin. Yung MySQL na po yan. Okay? So, we need to make sure na naka-start po siya. Meron siyang PIDs and report. It is important. Kailangan po mag-start po yan. So, yung Apache, it's necessary po na mag-start para po makita natin sa browser yung web application po natin. Now, let's try to open up the browser and then we just need to type localhost and we just need to hit enter. So, yun. So, now we can see the dashboard of the SAM. So, therefore, we successfully installed yung SAMP in our local machine. Okay? So, to start our local development, we need to look for the kung saan natin install yung SAMP natin. So, basically, naka-install po siya sa C, sa drive C. And then, hanapin natin yung SAMP folder and then yung htdocs. So, within the htdocs, dito po ilalagay natin yung mga projects natin. So, usually, I want to organize it through folders. So, gagawa po ako ng panibagong folder. Sabihin natin learning PHP. Then, let's try to access this one. So, localhost / learning _ PHP. So, basically, yung localhost nakapoint na po sa root directory ng server, which is the htdocs. So, sa loob naman, let's say I want to organize it up kasi maraming practice yung gagawin natin. Marami kasi yung series na meron tayo. So, let's say I want to create another folder and lagyan ko ng practice 1. Kasi of course, magkakaroon tayo ng practice 2, practice 3, and so on. So, if we try to refresh this one, ito po yung makikita natin. Okay, so ito po yung folder natin. So, type natin siya sa URL para makita natin yung laman, if ever meron man. So, currently, wala pa pong laman yung folder. Okay, ngayon naman, let's try to open up our project or working directory sa of course, a text editor, which is the Sublime. So next is, I would like to open up to the open folder. Let's try to navigate to the folder that we have created, which is a SAM, htdocs, then learning PHP, of course, yung practice 1 na folder. And after that, click lang po natin yung select folder. Okay, so the reason why I'm always doing that kind of setup, it is because mas maganda yung nakikita natin yung sidebar. It is because yung sidebar, dito po, magiging visible lahat ng files na ginawa natin. Okay, so malalaman natin ano ba yung file na ginawa natin, saan siya located. So, ganun po kung bakit maganda yung open folder. Now, let's create new file. Then, let's save it muna. So, we need to make sure that the directories nakapoint sa practice 1. And then, let's have its file name. Sabihin natin sample.php. So, in creating PHP code, of course, we need to type the opening PHP tag and of course the closing PHP tag. So, yung mga code po natin, ilalagay po natin sa loob ng mga ng opening and closing PHP tag na yan. So, let's say we want to display some output using the echo statement. So, nating learning PHP. Then, save natin yan. Punta tayo ng browser. And try natin i-refresh muna. So basically, the file will be seen dito sa directory sa loob by accessing the location through the URL. Now, to access particularly yung sample.php, we need to type the sample.php, yung file name mismo, ilalagay natin sa URL. Okay? Now, if wala siyang file name, basically, ito po yung nakikita natin, yung file tree. So, we need to avoid that one. It should be na once walang file name, it should open up a file or yung homepage. So, gumawa tayo ng another file. We're going to save it as index.php. Index.php will serve as our homepage. So, kahit wala yung file name sa URL, ito pa rin yung babasahin na file. So, in that way, hindi na po makikita yung file tree natin. Okay? So, let's echo something. And refresh mo natin to. So, kahit hindi tayo mag-type dito, it will still display. Okay? So, that's the good thing na meron tayong index.php in our directory para kahit walang file na specify sa URL, makikita pa rin po natin yung homepage. Okay, hindi po yung file tree. Okay, to access naman, ito po yung sample.php natin. Now, let's try to fix this one. Since we try to integrate yung HTML sa PHP, ito po yung gagawin natin ngayon. So, let's have our basic building block of HTML. Let's have the title here for the title tag. Let's say learning PHP. Okay, so maglagay naman tayo ng content. Sabihin natin hello world, ang pambansang hello world. Refresh natin. Let's go to index PHP or kahit di natin lagyan ng file. Okay, so we can still access yung hello world. Now, if we're going to click the code, ito po yung makikita natin. If we're trying to view page source, nandyan po yung content niya. And of course, the HTML tags. Okay, so we can also wrap the PHP within the HTML codes or tags such as this one. So we try to wrap it in an H1. So we're expecting na once this will be displayed in the browser, basically yung H1 tag yung i-apply niyang style. Yan. So malaki na yung text. But of course, we're not going to use H1 because palaki yung text niya ha. Gagamitin natin yung H1 for the purpose that it is the title of our, let's say, a blog or a web page. So, pwede naman po sa loob ng PHP code. Just note lang po na once we do that, we need to make sure that it is in a form of a string. Otherwise, if we're not going to do that, magkakaroon po tayo ng error. Okay? So, yun. So, ibalik ko lang po yung kanina. Okay? Ngayon naman, let's try to put some styles. And let's say we want to have a sort of settings that once a status is true, it can change the color of a certain output. Let's say yung H1 natin. Gusto natin baguhin yung kulay based on the status. So we can manipulate it also through PHP. Kaya let's say gumawa ka ng parang theme options wherein you can set the status sa isang form. Then once mabasa siya sa front-end side, i-manipulate ni PHP yung output o yung kulay ng text ninyo. So let's have a status here, which is equals to 1, for example. And then we have a if statement that will compare if the status equals to 1. And if it is, we are about to set the color. So color dito, let's say the default color niya is blue. And then once the status is 1, it will be green. So ilagay ko naman yung h1 style niya sa baba kasi we are going to utilize the color variable and display it in the style part of the h1. Yan. Now let's try to check it in the browser. As you can see, naging green na siya. So if ever po mag-change po yung status, let's say from 1 naging 0 siya. So mabalik po siya sa pagiging blue. Okay? So that's how we can manipulate also the style in PHP. Lalo na kung may mga setting tayo sa web application na gagawin natin. So we can also manipulate that one in that kind of way. Okay po? Okay, ngayon naman po, pwede rin po natin ilagay yung PHP sa taas. Okay, let's say we have some calculation na gagawin and hindi natin siya gustong ilagay sa body part. Gusto natin siya sa taas para maging malinis naman kahit paano sa baba, then we can do that. Actually, even we put this in a separate file, that's also applicable sa PHP. Now let's have this calculation. So we set yung total, then we want to display the output yung total dito sa baba. So total equals, of course, we have the opening tag muna ng PHP and then the closing tag. Then echo here yung variable, which is the total. Once we do that, and let's go back to the browser, refresh natin yan. So meron na pong output na 4 for our total. Okay? So ngayon naman po, let's say we want to go to the other page. Paano ba gawin yung pag-link papunta sa other page? Yung sa sample page natin. So basically, meron tayong anchor tag di po ba sa part ng HTML. Yung gagawin lang po natin is to get the URL of the sample.php by copying the URL there and paste it here. So once we do that, and let's go back to the home page, refresh po natin, and once we click on the sample page, mapupunta na po tayo sa sample.php file, which is nakalink po siya based on the code that we have. Now, let's try to fix this sample.php. Let's also put some HTML code in here para kasi normally naman po, if we're trying to make our application, we are integrating yung HTML at saka yung PHP. So, ayusin muna natin to. So, okay, so let's place here yung another link and of course, i-label ko lang to as back. Then, yung URL niya, pwede nating lagyan ng index.php or kahit wala na. Kasi automatic naman po natatawag yung index.php. Okay? So, let's try to fix this. Paano lagyan natin ng h1? Refresh po natin. Okay? So, once we click back, mapupunta siya dito and vice versa. So, that's how we can work on the HTML and PHP part. Okay? Okay, so I think that's it, guys. So I hope you learned something new today regarding the introduction of our new version of our Learning PHP series. So there are more things na pag-uusapan pa po natin sa series na to. So just stay tuned lang po. So just like I always say naman po, just keep practicing and never stop learning. Thank you for watching, guys. Goodbye for now.